Sam, it's really good to meet you. And thanks for being on our podcast. Yeah, it's quite an exciting thing for us, and great to have you on board as we kick it off.
Yeah, I think am I the first pancake? You
You're the
know,
first
like,
pancake from you're the first pancake from the Level Up program.
okay,
So we spoke to some other pancakes from the training program. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for being here. I guess today really is just, to learn a bit more about you. You've got a really long background in the design industry, rich
I do.
experience. Yeah. And so maybe you can how did you get into design? Did you just stumble into it?
Yeah, no, it's I started out in logistics for in Nando's, uh, there's art. If you go into Nando's, there's art on the walls, and the
Mm.
next time you go into a Nando's, like, really have a look. One consultancy used to do that, and we worked with the artists, and then I used to ship all of the artwork. So it was
Oh
odd coming
wow.
to the UK and then, like, seeing, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That was like many, many years ago. And I studied public relations, and I always wrote and I always created and always made. I made things
Mm.
and tinkered around with stuff. So I've always been creative. My sister is an amazing graphic designer, and
Mm.
that's always kind of been in our bones. But I needed a job, so I took on a very strange role. Um, from that, I then realized, okay, my biggest passions and strengths are design and writing. So I did content writing. So obviously back
Okay.
before AI, I don't know if anyone remembers a time before AI, but there was like writers and content writers for SEO
Pen.
and pen, paper, these things. The young people don't know what these things are. And so I used to do that. And then one day, a, a client needed a website. WordPress was pretty new then. And I was like, cool,
Mm.
I'll have a go. I'll try it. If it doesn't work out, then fine. I'll try something else. Had a go, really got into web design. And then, yeah, it sort of grew from that. So web design, and I realized, okay, I can also make things, problem solve, be
Mm.
creative. And it kind of all encompassed around what was then sort of also service design and UX at the
Oh,
same
cool.
time. But I've sort of pivoted, and my career hasn't been a ladder. Someone I saw a long time ago said their career is a river. So it's sort of all these twists and turns, but generally always moving forward. And
Mm.
that's kind of where I've seen my career, at least, is I've taken on these different roles and different responsibilities. And as things come
Yeah.
up, I put my hand up and I go, I'll give it a go. And I've kind of just kept adding tools to my tool belt, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's kind of why I kind of call myself a full stack designer or a multidisciplinary designer. It's just because, yeah, I've got a lot of those kinds of skills. But I focus on, I'm a lead product designer. That's kind of where my journey has led me, so that it
Got
sort of all comes together, I guess, in
got
that
you.
one title, you know?
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think a lot of people, especially getting into the industry, they're looking for this ladder. I don't think that there is one. So I think it's an important thing to share.
I think if you get into a corporate, I think probably in a very corporate space, perhaps even like
Mm.
conglomerate googly type things, like, I think you can start out as a junior or an associate or an intern, and then you grow in their programs. I do think
Yeah.
that that's out there. I think that's few and far
Mhm.
between. At least
Mm.
my experience and the people that I've spoken to, it's kind of a mishmash. You kind of go where it's a little bit more organic than, I'm going to do this for a year, and now I'm going to go for that promotion, and then I'm going to get here and get there.
Yeah.
Great if you can. I mean, that's, I think, a privilege if you are able to do that in one organization. Often
Mm.
you get the promotion by moving companies, unfortunately.
Usually. Yeah. Yeah. It's tricky. What are you up to right now?
I was at a AI company,
Hmm.
and startups being startups is the nature of what they are, and it's
Mm.
tumultuous. I love the chaos. I love the energy of it, but it comes with
Mm.
a double-edged sword. So yeah, I'm feeling like a little bit of livestock back on the market, but
Okay.
yeah, back at it.
Okay.
Also, it kind of reminds me of what this, I assume this is what, like, kind of like what dating feels like right now, is when you're going out looking for jobs. It's constantly the conversations of, hi, who are you? And tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
So It's a lot of that. But I've met some really great people, really great companies. And I can say that the market is much, well, at least in my roles, I think is much
Mm.
better
Mm.
than a good couple of months ago. It was pretty dead. So optimistic,
Okay.
but yeah, we'll see
Nice.
how things go.
Okay. So the AI company that you're at, that's quite interesting. What was your sort of role in terms of this AI company?
It was a bookkeeping, but I came in as kind of like the everything designer. So there were two great designers there before, and
Mm-hmm.
we're still there. And I came in to do sort of part product and then marketing events because I have the wide skill set. I
Mm.
can sort of pop myself into wherever we need to go, or just like marketing emails, that kind of things. That's what I came in to do. Also bring a bit of consistency to some of the designs. But
Mm.
ultimately, what I left with that company was just a great group of people. And I think it's very important to find, especially when you're going into your next role, even juniors going into the next companies, they have time to really look at companies and look at their ethos and the team and
Mm.
stalk
Mm.
people on
Mm.
LinkedIn, contact them, talk to them. And I, from this AI company, as much as I learned, and there were brainiacs there. I mean, I'm amazed at
Mm.
how these people think. So it was great to learn from them and learn from the engineers and everyone. But really, the team is the gift
People.
that came out of that experience.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So good people can really like make or break a work experience. So,
Yes.
um, and I mean, I really don't want to get derailed into the whole AI thing, but since you were working quite closely in the space, what is your take on AI and how it's going to impact the design industry and the role
There's
of
a lot of
designers?
doom and gloom. There's a lot of
Yeah.
I think there's a lot on LinkedIn specifically. I think there's people just sort of fear mongering for comments saying
Mm.
design is dead and AI is going to take
Mm.
a job. Certainly AI is taking people's jobs. I mean, it's a reality.
Mm.
But for design, I think it more takes those that like areas that maybe you don't put a lot of effort into. So you've got very sort of fly by night designers. And I think AI will make them faster. So there'll be a lot of like this cheap design. I think it takes that kind of cheap design out. And I think you have to
Mm.
now, it really makes designers have to step up. You have to be better
Yeah.
than what this AI can like produce. So whether it's
Mm.
imagery, whether it's content, whatever it is, you have to be better now than what I consider it's still a low level kind of
Mm.
designer or writer, whatever you use it for, developers. Um,
Yes.
and I think you need to, whatever space you're in and AI is in that space, you now have to step up and be like
Mm.
way more strategic. You have to
Yeah.
just align yourself with like learn more about the industry and all that kind of stuff. You can't sort of now fly by the seat of your pants. You can't just coast. I think if you
Mm.
really, really want to do well, um, in companies, I mean, there's going to be companies that are going to lay off people. They are because of AI.
Yeah.
That's a numbers
Yeah.
game. I don't think that that's personal as it is, as
Mm.
someone that is affected.
Mm.
But you've got to believe in your own skills and try and upskill yourself then and make yourself indispensable because
Mm.
AI is going to take that sort of low level skill
Well,
set. Yeah.
mm. And that's so for people who are, I guess, just like starting out in the industry, either, leaving university, trying to get their first job. What are the things you think they can do to start getting there to being better than they are when they're also really just starting out?
I would tell them, and I've told a few, is to not rely on AI
Mm.
as much as I think that they are, from what I've seen they
Mm.
are. Don't
Mm.
rely on AI to teach you what good design is, what good writing is, what good friendship
Mm.
is, what good community is. AI doesn't know that it can't teach you that. It can
Mm.
mimic and you can sort of practice with it, but other than
Mm.
that, as a junior, don't rely on it to give you all the answers. You need experience. So keep building, just keep making. Make sure you're
Mm.
also AI sort of competent. Don't
Mm.
be like, I'm not ever going to use this AI thing, and you will be left behind because there will be
Yeah.
designers that will be faster than you. They'll have all the knowledge, all the experience, and be faster because they can use AI.
Mm.
So
Mm.
don't rather leverage what the technology is that's out there and
Mm. Mm.
keep making, really make your mark. I think you can't be silent anymore. We're at the point where you basically have to stand on a bridge and hold a sign saying, Google hire me, to even be noticed in this sort of very loud space. Everyone's looking for
Yeah.
a job. So how do you stand out? And for juniors, don't think someone's going to hand it to you. So build
Mm,
stuff, show your
mm.
potential, show your creativity, show how different you are, and then use AI as strategically as possible.
No, that's really good advice. You've obviously joined the Level Up program as a mentor, and it sounds like you've got a lot of experience giving or mentoring and supporting other designers. Maybe you can tell us more about that.
Not in mentoring, I have managed, and that's
Yeah.
sort of coming into Level Up. That was a quite a difference or a different approach. When you
Mm,
manage people, it's more organic. You have daily interactions. You don't have
mm,
this sort of set time that you have to kind of work with growth. And you do have KPI, or like OKRs throughout the year, that kind of thing. But
mm.
it's not the same as in the same way that you mentor. And that was something that I learned. So this is the first time I'm
Okay.
doing this kind of very structured mentoring
Mm,
than just sort of seeing people grow that I've been working with at other companies. So in
mm.
that way, I've been learning. I saw the post on LinkedIn. Someone I used to work with
Oh, yeah.
was part of your first cohort of like the first
Yeah.
cohort.
Yeah.
The Level Up is looking for volunteers for a storytelling stakeholder management session. I saw it. I scrolled past it, and I was like, no, they won't want me.
Mm,
Scrolled, and then I was like, no, wait, let me just. I was like, I was so interested in it, and I was like, you know what? What the hell? I'll
mm,
just
mm,
give it a go. I love writing. I love storytelling. I have always dealt with stakeholders, and
mm, mm.
haven't been terrible at it. So let's give it a go. They realized that it was a bit too long, like not enough time to kind of come up with a whole session for storytelling.
Mm,
So
mm.
we looked at Level Up as being a mentor. So I said, I will give
Right.
it a go. If you think I feel like I've got something to give, let's give it a go. And we're halfway through Level Up sort of timeline. It's so
Yes.
short. It's so short. Not enough time to like try and get everything done.
It's tricky, yeah. 3 months. It'll be interesting to hear from people around is that enough time or is it too little?
It's difficult. Like 3 months, I think for the mentors, I'm in a different space. I've got a little bit of time. So, but I
Mm,
think those that are sort of, jam packed with everything, I don't know if 6 months is too long. 4 months
mm.
seems like a strange number. So 3 months seems like a good chunk
Yeah.
to kind of really just sort of cram as much as you can, a structured way, like we've got a plan.
Mm.
And then it's up to the mentee to take it further. I don't think that it's like after 3 months, you sort of cut off the relationship.
Yes.
As far as I understand, you sort of can always engage and you'll always be there. Right. Um, so in that way, I think you give space for the mentee to then you sort of plant these little seeds like in the 3 months, and I guess over the course of the year or the
Mm,
next couple of months, you sort of see that grow into a tree.
mm.
I don't know. I'm coming up with an analogy, but you see that sort of bloom later,
Yeah.
and hopefully you're still part of that relationship that you can kind of still see it.
Yes, yes. And stay connected. Maybe it's that because you've got the structure for the 3 months and then you get into a flow and you understand how to like work with each other, then, maybe going forward, you don't really need the she can do framework for the relationship to be successful. We were talking about, the timeline, 3 to 6 months,
Mm.
which I guess we'll have to see and get feedback from people. I know our other program, the UX UI training program, that used to be 3 months, and we realized that was definitely too short for what we were trying to achieve there.
Yeah.
So that moved up to 6 months. So, mm,
But that's more like practical, right? That's actually building
yeah,
things and training, and it's the time of the trainers and the teachers and the students, so they have a little bit more time and they can input. But yeah, I'd be
mm,
interested to see. The timeline is that I think for the first couple of weeks or 2 to 3 weeks, I would say you're finding your feet, and then by the time, well, what I'm feeling like is now we're finding our rhythm. It's already halfway through.
yeah,
I'd also be interested to see other mentors experiences.
yes, yeah. I think with all of our programs, it's really great because we get all this feedback, and then we can just change it and iterate as we go. I think we've never run a program the same way ever. There's always things we learn and new new things we want to add. Yeah, I also thought it was interesting, Sam. You said that like you hadn't formally managed, formally mentored. You have been a manager. What else are you finding are like the key differences?
Again, it's just the structure.
Mm,
I actually wish that I had a little bit more of, I mean, I'm looking at it retrospectively. So
mm,
looking at the way that you mentor and the quietness. So getting used to the silence, that is something that I didn't, I sort of was push, 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 let's go as a
mm,
manager,
mm,
or just, as like things come up, let's look at this, let's look at that. But
mm,
with the mentoring structure of allowing your mentee to get to that point by themselves. I struggled with that. And that's one thing that I
mm,
noticed completely differently was
mm,
giving space for their growth or getting to a point instead of sort of saying, no, this is what you should do. Which is a little different because
mm.
when you manage, you have projects, you have things that still need to go out as day-to-day work, and you sort
Yes.
of mix in growth sort of structures within the work that they're doing, especially if they're going
Mm,
from junior to mid or whatever it might be.
mm,
Mentoring, it's you sort of have to you sit back and you ask these sort of Socratic questions and get them to really like build it themselves. Very different to and very
mm.
interesting. And I've used that and like researched more on that. So that for me is a key difference is
Yeah.
that space. That space.
You said that you've informally mentored, or was that incorrect?
I've gone into a company and then two people there were learning. They were investors. They were sort of very junior and they were going through a course and then they knew I was a designer, so then they just sort of came and spoke to me. They were using wireframing tools and they didn't know what was wrong because they hadn't built it themselves. They didn't design it themselves. They never designed anything. They used this sort of AI app to design onboarding flows. So when I
Ah,
went in and I was like, that's not really the flow that usually happens. Here's the standards, here's the principles. It was
mm,
kind of, even though they'd learned a lot of that, they were using AI as a crutch. And
mm,
in that way, it was an informal mentoring in the sense of use it as a tool. It's like a calculator. You still need to know 1 + 1
mm,
equals 2 when you use a calculator. A
mm,
calculator's not gonna, well, nowadays, okay, you've got AI calculators, doesn't count. Old school calculators. You need to know the principles behind it before you use the tool. And
mm,
it's as true as it was then as it is now with
mm.
way more complex AI systems. Now we're going back to AI. But in that way, it was
Yeah.
informal because it's just people coming up to you and asking you questions rather than let's sit down and have a session, you know?
Right, right. I think both could be equally effective though.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm, mm,
definitely. Sometimes it's like with anything. If you sit down and you go, I'm going to learn this between 6 and 7 at night.
mm,
You can't guarantee that you're going to have growth between specific hours. As much as we try and plan everything we do, I think mentoring is different. Is because you can find
mm,
these small nuggets and moments in your day as you're talking to people.
mm,
You find your own growth while talking to people, and you
mm.
can't plan that. Not always, I don't think. You
That's
can
true.
sort of set up a situation like we do to try,
Mm,
but it's it's those sort of serendipitous moments where you sometimes find the most growth.
yeah. Can you think of like a specific example for you where you felt that way?
I've had very interesting bosses. I've had very interesting managers and bosses in my lifetime, and
Mm,
it's those situations that have taught me the most.
mm,
Was asked, I did like a research thing with you guys yesterday, yeah, yesterday,
yeah.
and the question was sort of, have I ever had a mentor? And I said, not formally, no, but I've learned what not to be, and I've learned what not to do. And I think often that's quite valuable. Someone can tell you what to do, but you need to experience the other side of that, and you need to experience sort of the bad stuff sometimes to see that you don't want to be that. You don't want to mimic that. You don't want to be that. You don't want to even
Mm,
get to that level. In that way, I've had mentors, and I don't think they knew that they were mentors because they told me or they showed me through their actions and through their character. That's not how I want to manage or mentor or be
mm,
as a teammate, as a
mm,
manager, as anyone. anyone interacting with anyone. Yeah. And that's organic. That you can't plan. That's just,
That's so
and
true.
you have to be open to that lesson. Often you could be so angry with someone at the time, and sometimes you have to just retrospectively look back. And
Mm,
you need to, in those moments, kind of say, okay, what can I learn from this, instead of just being, oh, that person's a bit of a box.
yes.
You've got to see, okay, what can I learn from that? What can I learn from them? And then just sort of let it go after that.
And I mean, yeah, what are your top three no-nos that you learned?
What I've learned is, don't bring your home life to the office.
Mm,
So we are working with people 8 or more hours sometimes a day.
yeah.
You're human, obviously, life happens. We're women. So once a month, we also have to just somehow magically ignore that things happen once a month and
Yeah.
carry on with our lives and do presentations and speak to these stakeholders, even though you're in pain. So there's a degree of, and I think maybe that's a woman thing, just sort of
Mm,
keep going because you don't want to be
absolutely.
seen as weak in that way. So for me, sometimes, but you are human, bring your emotions. But what I've seen from leaders is how their home life really affects how they interact and lead. They're
Mm,
completely different people when their spouses are with them. And I find that that's a no-no. Kind of, for me, if you're in a team, if you're leading, if you're just wherever you are in a company,
mm,
I feel that if you had to walk with your family member, your friend, your spouse, and you had to meet someone from your office or your team, neither of them should be able to go like, who was that? Like work at home is so different.
mm,
Obviously, we're a little bit more heightened maybe at work. I don't know, but
mm.
I think you still need to be yourself, as much as yourself as you can be. So
Yes.
sometimes, but what I find with leaders is their spouses affect them quite heavily,
Mm,
and they
mm,
bring it to the office,
mm,
and just sort
mm.
of empathy or sympathy. I don't know which one it is. My dad is a really good manager. So I can't say
Yeah.
that it's a man versus woman thing, that men are not as sympathetic or
Mm,
in that way, but because my dad is really, really, he's like, my sister, my mom, all of our dogs have been female. Like he's always been around women. So he's very empathetic and very sympathetic to the things that we go through. Uh, so I can't say it's a man versus woman thing, but I do notice that in general, there's sort of, when you've got female managers, and that's something I would emulate, is just that sort of understanding when things are not going as quite nicely as one can during the month, during the day, a little bit of understanding. But again, this is
mm.
generalized. There are outliers. I have met
No.
loads of great men who are great managers.
Mm,
But in that way, again, I've learned more from the negative than I have from. I haven't had great mentors. I haven't had. I even got asked this in the research. Do you have a female mentor? And I was like, I don't. I know Simon Sinek. He's really good. He's not a woman. But his ethos and the way he talks about leadership. That's
mm.
who I emulate.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think having a female mentor is, or the fact that you haven't?
I'm going to say something controversial. Women are
Yes.
really hard to work for.
Hmm.
I don't know
I've
if you've had that experience.
I haven't had it, but I've heard it.
So again, outliers, there are great women and there are great guys to work for. My experience has been
Mm.
that women who get to that sort of like, I call it C-suite, the C-suite level of like,
Yeah.
I think it's high pressure situations, and you're sort of in that management level.
Mm,
I have met great ones, but my experience has been it can be really hard to work with women,
mm,
which
mm, mm,
you have to deal with so much more. I don't know if it's ego, if it's you don't want to hurt people's feelings. Again, you get men that are different, but I've I've worked with both, and you can sort of be a bit more direct with men than you can with women. You kind of have to sugarcoat sometimes. And but I have recently worked with women, and we are very honest and open. And maybe that's just personalities, but yeah,
mm,
controversial. Maybe that's
mm.
a hot take. You can't. It's hard to work with women, but
Yeah. I've got some theories that, like, maybe it's because we only see so few women in leadership that it's more of a competition than a support. Yeah. And I do think it's tougher. The pressure, looks insane.
And I think there's a different type of pressure put on them. And again,
Mm,
women, if you're assertive, you're bitchy, the whole shebang. And so there is a pressure on them,
mm,
different to when you're a team lead, management. I haven't had that kind of issues with those level of people. It's usually just the really, really high ups.
yeah.
I'm throwing them a bone that they've got a lot of pressure, and it does come off sometimes, yes, as competitive, and that's where the ego. So I think when it comes to mentoring, when it comes to managing, uh,
Mm,
or leading,
mm,
ego. If you can take ego out of your feedback, receiving feedback, giving feedback, it's. And I don't know if it's like once you get to that level, the air changes or your water changes, but your ego gets super inflated at that point, and then everything is a competition, and no doubt men go through the same thing. Men must go through, that sort of competitive, the juniors coming up and stealing my job,
mhm,
if that's the sort of feeling. But because women haven't, again, like you said, like not a lot of women in that role, you'd think that one would be inclined to be like, okay, let's try and help as many women as possible, but then it's a
mm,
threat. So
mm, mm.
massive I mean, women are terribly complex creatures.
Yeah, it's so difficult. Because I do think that like female mentorship can be that extra level of powerful because they understand all of the complexity. It's a tricky one.
And telling that to juniors is also something that I have had to learn is also
Mhm.
uh, like you don't want to poison the well. So it's trying to sort of give as much knowledge as possible. But what I've gone through is not the same as what you've gone through, what they're going to
Mm,
go through. So
mm,
you kind of want to give them flags to look out for, but don't want to say, no, this is what it's going to be like. Because, like you said, you haven't really worked with sort of women in that kind of, you haven't had that experience.
mm, mm,
So I wouldn't want to say, yeah, no, no, don't have a woman boss. It's really difficult. No, you might get a fantastic one.
mm,
And that's been difficult to kind of hold back cynicism. I've been
mm,
in the industry for over 10 years, so there's cynical by nature as well. So just to sort of try and keep it as positive as possible so that they learn and they take their steps, and I'm not walking
mm.
in their shoes. I don't want them to walk in my shoes in that way, do the same steps that I did.
And hopefully
That's
things
difficult.
change. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Um, and I want to go back to some of the other sort of like no-nos that you've learned in terms of what's the type of manager or leader you don't want to be like.
Ego, so
Mm,
egotistical. I I
mm,
I didn't come into management. Manage. There's some people that sort of go, I want that promotion, so I'm going to go. As it sort of comes with management, you get a someone in your responsibilities or sort of that kind of thing. I was with a company and I was with the founder and our team grew, and I think it was a natural progression
mm,
uh, to become manager as more designers and devs came on board. So it was less so of a here's a role, do you want it or not kind of thing, or here's a promotion. It was very organic. And
okay.
so from that, and then again, watching people and seeing how they interact with me and what I would like from a manager is just
Mm,
to have someone who listens. So the no-nos is people just don't listen. They don't listen
mm,
to you when you come to them, and you've got I don't know where it was said, you've got two ears and one mouth for a reason. Um, but when it comes to people, it's just like asking how you're doing. You know, I
mm,
often find with managers that these sort of formal settings and they're like, how are you feeling? How's the day going? Or how's your
mm,
experience? It's day to
mm,
day. How are you doing? Know who you're talking to. How's their family? It's that being maybe in smaller teams it's a lot easier. I've worked in small teams within bigger companies, so
mm,
it's a little bit
mm,
easier. But having genuine care for the people you're in charge of, I found the no-no was that people would take credit. Managers or higher ups would take credit for something that someone that worked with them did, or not giving credit. Jeff did a really good job, guys. Like
mm,
even if it was a small part, but kind of never taking credit. That's if someone else did a small part, you give them the credit. because often
Mm,
that's overlooked. And your juniors, and that's a thing that I've also told people, is women and juniors, is you need to take up space.
mm,
No one is going to hand you anything. You're not entitled to anything. You need to show people. And there's, again, so much noise. So
yeah.
if you find a manager that can also call you out and go, what a great job you did on that thing, that's important. Haven't met a lot of managers. I've met great managers who do that and are very encouraging. I've
Mm,
met a lot that don't, and they'll rather take credit with clients, and that's a no-no. I
mm,
It's a pet peeve, actually. I
mm.
get irritated when that
Yeah.
happens, and then I will be the big mouth that'll say, Jeff did all the work, get into trouble for that.
Often getting into trouble for doing the right things. That probably is also
Yes.
what makes a good manager.
And a leader, you need to take on all the crap. You take all the crap when other people are doing, and that's a difficult thing, is when things are going wrong, you're responsible. When things are
Yeah.
going right, you need to give the credit to other people. And that can be, and again, with people that have ego and want the power of being in a being in
Mm,
this leadership role,
mm.
that's I don't know, maybe that's a natural state. It's something I've learned, so I'm sure people can learn to be that, but it's
Yeah.
very difficult as a
Yes.
person.
And I think you have to find when is the right moment to take it, when is the wrong moment to take it. Because I have seen it go the other way where um, women leaders then will never commend themselves, even though they have done amazing things. So I think, which is maybe part of the taking up space concept.
That's actually, and I think what I mean in the sense of, if you will get credit, because your team will know that you've got their back. When it
Mm,
comes to maybe team events where someone gets to raise a glass, you will find that your team will raise a glass to you.
mm,
When
mm.
you go through your own salary once a year kind of reviews,
Yes.
hopefully if you've managed your team well, you will be running a really successful team. It is your job to give your team credit,
Mm,
because no one else will, because they might not feel that they can. And maybe it's
mm,
also an example of giving credit to other people.
mm,
Maybe it's a humbling thing, but
mm.
never shying away. I mean it in like a quiet confidence way, not
That
definitely
makes sense.
not shying away and saying, oh no,
Mm.
it wasn't me. It was all, because in that way it's also kind of like, oh no, it was actually they did it and it's their
Yes.
responsibility. It's not that. It's kind of it's a quiet confidence in your team,
Mm,
in action, rather than a couple of words every now and again. You show you've got their back. And a lot of managers don't have your back. And
mm.
you kind of have to go through kind of tumultuous times to know, ah, okay, they don't have my back. And you
I
lose that
don't.
trust. And that's a big no-no for me, is losing trust.
No, that's a really hard one. I also wanted to find out your mentorship within Level Up, you and your mentee. What are some of the things that you are focusing on together?
Confidence.
Okay.
So confidence, I think, is a big one. I think it's also
Yeah.
for women. Again, that's always like take up space, not in an annoying, loud,
Mm,
where no one's going to
mm.
listen to you kind of way, but take up space and own your space. So my mentee has a crossover of skills. And that was one
Yeah.
of the issues, was kind of like, do I forget this? So she's an industrial designer and she's going into UX. And the question was like, do we completely forget about, industrial design? And I was like, no, like these are great, like overlaps.
Skills.
There's Dieter Rams, like there's all these examples of industrial designers that have the principles are in UX. So
Mm,
our big thing was, how do we frame her experience, where she wants to go? And then also, she's she's quiet, but
mm,
I can see that spark. And she got new
mm.
photos done for LinkedIn and stuff. And I'm like, there she is. I can see her. Do you feel like you're that person in those photos? And she's like, kind of. But so we're also building. I'm trying to build her confidence in even being able to do this kind of thing. So presentations, get on LinkedIn and do
Mm,
posts and try and get her
mm.
thoughts out. And that's a big thing.
Oh,
Is just like the confidence to feel that you can. And that
yes.
even if you don't think anything you say anyone's going to listen to, that's not the
Mm.
point. Just
Mm.
take up a little bit of space.
I think it's so interesting, this concept of teaching confidence or helping people build confidence, because it's such an intangible thing.
How do you feel? Is this something that have you done it quite often? So you're pretty natural at it. You're feeling,
The
or is this like,
podcast?
oh
The
yeah,
the
like being
podcast?
on camera and
Oh, no, it's
any,
freaking
yeah,
me out. It's freaking me out. Yeah, no, I struggle with camera things. I know I needed to do like a post to promote Level Up, and the team was saying like video content is so much
yeah,
better. Yeah, I think I took like 20 different clips over the weekend. Not this one, not this one.
it's
So no,
difficult.
it's not my space. Yeah.
And how are you feeling now? How do you feel after doing a couple of these?
Yeah, I think that's it. Maybe just doing something over and over again. I think getting feedback, just doing it over and over again.
Then that's like the level up way in the sense of when we were kind of going through our training at the
Mm,
beginning. This is where if you can fail, you can make mistakes, you can blips and
yeah.
do all these kind of things because it's in that space where you're not very low stakes. There are no stakes. There's no
Yes.
project, there's no clients. And
Yes.
that's also the confidence thing. I'm trying to get my mentee to even just record herself. I won't even watch it. Just to record herself talking about, we like did a deep dive, just talk about a subject. And if you do that
Yes.
over and over again, and something that I've noticed the difference between even South Africa and UK schooling, and that's slightly different,
Mm,
is I don't know how many public like orals did you do in school? Did you do quite a few? I
we
don't know if
did,
schooling's
yeah.
different now.
No, I
Almost
think we
every
used to,
year you kind of do mondelings and you do orals and you public speak in some way.
debate things, and there was inter-school thing. Yeah, I remember that.
So in the UK, from what I've learned, is like you might do one oral or public speaking thing maybe in your whole high school career.
Hmm.
It's very different. So
Hmm.
so what was interesting is just how I don't know when they learn them to do public speaking, but as South African students, and we are also so proud of us, is that we're
Mm.
educationally and just like public speaking and our personalities, we are a confident people,
Hmm.
and we need to kind of also take up a bit more space on
Mm.
international stages, on social
Mm.
media, and all of that because our cultures are very unique. And our
Yes.
and our the way that we go through our work life is different to Europe, is different to America. And
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
students and juniors and anyone going into the industry needs to also get it from our perspective,
Mm.
a uniquely African perspective, as opposed
Mm.
to the sort of USA, Europe, England. It's very different.
Yeah.
The work is very different. Not very
Mm.
different, but the energy, everything. It actually is slightly different. And that's important. I think this is also what's really, really great about Level Up. She can do any of these programs, even what you're doing now, podcasts, is
Mm.
getting those voices out and getting juniors to connect with
Mm.
mentors and people in their space as well,
Yeah. Yeah, like a platform for people to then take up space and practice all of these difficult things in the safe space.
in a safe space. Yeah.
Always say to the team, we have such a supportive community. Nobody's going to be like, she can do.
Also, it doesn't matter. Like, can't please everyone.
It's
You're
true.
not going to please everyone. Things you say
Yeah.
are not going to, necessarily land well with everyone. And if you're strong in your convictions and your beliefs and everything, you kind of just keep going. And someone can
Mm.
say whatever they want. That's actually also something to teach juniors is resilience, thick skin.
Mm.
How do you learn to be thick skinned?
You don't have to be thick-skinned. Hmm. It's quite interesting. I think with our training program, when we bring in these external sort of teachers, designers to come and teach, we often have to remind them that when they're doing their reviews, because I was sitting in one review, and she was one of the design teachers. She was reviewing their UI, I think, and she was being like really, really nice about it. Like, well done, you guys did so well. This is such good progress. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's okay. And that I spoke to her afterwards. I was like, they can handle it actually. And I know you, and I know what kind of feedback you give, and I know that this is you just trying to be nice and trying to build their confidence, but it's maybe not helping because somebody eventually is going to say that's not good.
Yeah. And it's going to be a recruiter. It's going to be
Mm,
someone who has absolutely no connection to you,
yes.
has not
Yeah.
even spoken to you. You might not even get feedback,
Mm,
so, but I understand that, that dilemma of wanting to, there's both a not wanting to look like a bad guy,
mm,
um, not wanting to hurt their feelings. How do you
mm,
also constructively say it just doesn't look right? You still
mm.
have to, I think you have to balance it with what should it look like?
Yes.
So don't just go,
Kindness.
it doesn't
Yeah.
look right.
And kindness. It's not.
Kindness always come, yes. I always sometimes try to preemptively say like everything comes from like kindness, or like, I don't want to say it always comes from love, because it always comes from a place of me wanting you to grow. I know you can get to this point. You have it in you, and I can see it. And if I didn't say this, I would be it would be at a disservice to you.
Yes.
You would, otherwise you go into the world thinking, I'm wonderful, I'm the most fantastic, which is great.
Yes.
But that's what your parents are for. The real world is a little harsher than your parents saying you're the best in the world and you can do anything. You've got to kind of
It's
be
true.
nice, but also realistic, I guess.
Yes. Helpful. I think
Helpful.
if you really want people to grow, you'll be able to give them that feedback in a helpful, kind way. And I think that probably builds resilience.
If ever there was a space, and unfortunately, resilience and thick skins comes from negative experience,
Mm,
which is life. You
mm,
can't protect everyone
mm,
from these harsh realities of life. And
mm,
sometimes they've got to learn it early,
mm.
rather than, if you learn it early, you build on it. You don't work in a place for 10 years and then you're like, someone said no to me. Oh, we never heard this word before. You want them to go into the world with, it's sort of like parenting, I guess. You want them to go into the world with as many tools as possible, so that
Yes.
um, there aren't too many surprises, but they also learn their own
Mm,
journey, and they go on their own journey.
mm. It is very true. Um, and I guess my final question is, if you had to go back to yourself at the start of your journey, knowing what you know now, is there any sort of specific advice that you would share with yourself?
Mine is be kinder to yourself as much as being
Mm,
kind to others.
mm,
I don't know if that's a woman man thing. I think that's a person thing.
mm,
Is be kind to yourself and kind of give yourself not give yourself credit, but like for your growth. So for me, I've got really high expectations for myself, for my
mm,
work.
mm.
I sometimes put expectations on others, and when I don't meet my own expectations, I'm really hard on myself. So kind of like, be kind and don't be so hard on yourself.
Mm,
Um, and maybe that's my journey. My journey hasn't been very smooth, and I'm weirdly grateful for that. I'm grateful for the experiences that
mm,
I've got. Every experience, good or bad.
mm,
I actually have a tattoo of many, but this one, it says amor fati, which
mm,
I often say is just love your fat, but it's not. It means love your fate. And it's kind of like anything can be fuel. So whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's all fuel for the fire, and
mm.
you use it. So there's no, there's actually no good or bad experiences in that way. You're always learning. It's always part of your growth. And
Mm,
for anyone getting into an industry, I was in a really good position before, and in SA, and then we moved to the
mm,
UK, and I kind of had to
mm,
start again and
mm,
reestablish myself and restart. And that's resilience, but that's also knowing that every experience, I could have been super down about that,
yes.
but every experience is part of your story and a part of your journey. So embrace it,
Mm,
and never shy away from experiences.
mm,
Always put your hand up. Uh, again, take up take up.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks so much, Sam. Thanks for sharing your journey with us and your wise words of no-nos. We have learned a lot from you. So thank you. Thank you so much for the chat.
Thank you so much.
So Sam, you had also mentioned when you sort of first learned about the Level Up program, you were kind of just scrolling through and you said you hadn't actually mentored before and now you are doing this. So I'm curious, you know, if people aren't sure that this is for them or they're not sure if they should be mentors, maybe similarly to how you had felt, yeah, what advice would you give them, or what type of person do you think it takes to participate in this program?
For me, I think if you think you shouldn't be a mentor, or if you have trepidations and you, like me, are scrollers, like, no one really wants to hear what I would say, I think you should do it because I, you're not so narcissistic, perhaps, or egotistical, and you're like, people want to learn from me. I'm going to go do that.
Mm,
I was like, so I think having that bit of being a bit scared about it.
mm,
Um, if you've got that, I think you probably are perfect because you've got a quality that isn't, look at me, look what I'm doing. I'm
mm,
so great because I'm a mentor, and I think if you've got that quality, that's the perfect quality because you want to share. You don't want to get credit for it again.
mm, mm,
You want to share. And I think
mm.
if you've been in an industry for a good couple of years, I wouldn't say if it's your first year in something, I just don't know if you've got enough experience. So I think if you feel that you've been in an industry, whatever it might be, for a good couple of years and you've got a few experiences, good or bad, whatever it might be, and you feel that you are scared to be a mentor, you are definitely someone who should naturally have that in you.
I love that. And I think it's so important for women to hear and remind themselves and just to take a chance on themselves.
Take a
That's amazing.
chance. You're not going to be stuck in a program. You're going to have conversations. Give yourself the chance to know whether you've got it or not. If you never
Mm,
try, you always just regret later that you just never tried. So um, I'm not
mm.
someone who tries everything once. That can be dangerous. But try at least the safe things once
Thanks.
and see if you enjoy it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
1,